Do you want me to read you Kiss Cuddle Tuck?
No.
How come?
On another day?
On another day, not today?
Yeah.
You just told me you didn't want me to read it because it looked funny.
Yeah.
So it looks a little funny?
Look at my face in the picture.
Look at your face in the picture. Wow. That is amazing.
Look at this.
Oh, that's amazing too.
Nah.
Yep. And you didn't want to read my book because the book was funny.
Yeah, it was too funny.
And the last thing he said as he walked out the door is too funny means that he doesn't like it. So there's the first 5-year-old critique of my book dummy, Kiss Cuddle Tuck. So why would I want to make original art instead of just making digital art on this? For one thing, I have more experience with the original art. Another reason is that I can have the original art to sell later on, and the digital art, you don't have the original art. So that is one reason. And so I'm just going to trace this art from my book dummy, and I'm going to transfer it to watercolor paper and see how it looks. And then if it looks like I can do a good job, then I will use the original art. And there's something really fun about just creating something that you can hold in your hand and that you can create with paint brushes. So we'll see how this process works. And I want that to extend a little. And then this is going to go up here. So I'm just really getting another copy of this, and I could do it on Procreate. It's the same process. I wouldn't be making another layer and then just tracing it, because I've got on these I've got the drawing the way I want them, and so it would be good. So I've transferred my sketch onto my watercolor paper, and with watercolor you usually start from the lightest and go to the darkest. I don't always do that, but in this case it gives you a good place to start, and I was thinking what I really want to capture first and worry about is the background. And on Procreate, I could just pop one of those industrial textures and get a very nice texture. But I'm going to have to do something else on the original watercolor. So I have a sheet of rice paper, and I've got the wash wet, and I'm just going to press that down onto where I've made the wash, and see if that will leave a nice design. And I gotta let it completely dry before I can really see if it's gonna work. And then you've got the background on one side of the figure, and I want to make sure that I get it on both sides of the figure. So I get the wash out, and then gonna dip that brush in a little bit of water and fade that wash out a little, and just let the water do its work. And then get the rice paper again and the roller, and press that hard into the watercolor paper. There's some nice strings in the rice paper, and as I push that down into the watercolor paper, it will leave indentations where the watercolor will sink. Now I'm going to come back through and darken it right next to the figure, because I've got the figure is in basically white pajamas, and I want those pajamas and the figure to stand out from the background, but also just doing the texture with the rice paper and seeing what effect that will have on the finished illustration. As I look at it a little clearer, I'm like, you know what, that has left a very fun texture in that wash back behind. It's really subtle, and I will have to do the rest of the figure to see if I need to darken it at all, or leave it the way it is. But I'm quite pleased with how this is turning out. Fun texture. So you can take the watercolor after it's dried, and I've left some white at the tip of the nose and on that eyelid, and you can lift off. You get your watercolor brush with clean water on it, and just rub it, and it will lift off that color. Then I'm going to come back in and put some shadows underneath those pajamas and blend that in. Soften that edge of that watercolor, but that gives it some real dimension to put that underneath. And then I've got shadow under the nose, shadow where the eye sinks in between the eye and the nose. It's nice to put that shadow in. Got a shadow on the other side, and then a nice shadow for the chin and under where the chin meets the neck, and a little shadow for the ears. And also take clean water and soften those edges. You can kind of play around with that wash and move it around a little with your paintbrush, and that's kind of a nice thing to do. It's a totally different experience to paint with a brush and watercolor paper instead of using your digital iPad and digital pencil. Both are really fun, but it's nice to paint original watercolor also. It's kind of a nice break. So as I'm painting this, I'm thinking about the shadows and where I want those shadows. And before I put the pattern in the pajamas, I'm going to put the shadows in. And then I can come back later and put the detail of the pajamas in. You can soften the edges as you go, or you can wait until it dries and soften the edge. There's two different ways of doing it, and both of them work. You just kind of have to decide which is going to work best for you. So you have to get into your picture. You have to think about where the light's coming from, where the shadow is going to be. You have to get into that little illustration and be a part of it and make this illustration real. And the shadows have a great effect for doing that. It's always a work in progress. As I'm coming along putting those shadows in, I'm going, well, you know what, the pajamas need some pattern in the feet also. So these are things that I'm noticing while I'm putting this shadow in for this little figure. So the elephant is an important part of this illustration. He's kind of tiny, but it starts the theme of the whole book. So the book starts on the cover with this little stuffed animal that you can just tell from the way the boy is holding it that the little boy loves this stuffed animal. So I have to make sure that this little stuffed animal shows up. And if the reader doesn't see it right off at the beginning, when they come back and reread the book and reread it, it will be something that they will pick up and notice. Now the line work around this figure, I don't want a single same width line all throughout the illustration. I'm using an indigo blue pencil, which I really love because it has a really dark color to it. But I'm just having some fun with the line work, making it really thick in places, leaving a place where there is no line work at all, making it thick, thin, so that there's variety in this line work also. And I also want to make it a little free. So I don't want it to look stiff, and so I'm not worrying, oh, I need to be so careful to trace exactly the line the way I've transferred it onto my watercolor paper. If I do that, my line work is going to be stiff, and it will change the feeling of the illustration. So I have to be really free and just kind of go for it when I'm doing the line work. And when you do that, you have fun, and the viewer can see that you're having fun, and then they have fun also. This book, I want it to have that feeling of nice freedom. And so to have a little freedom with this outline sketch will help add to that feeling in the book and in the illustrations. So just going through, finishing it all. And as I go along, you know, I can refine the drawing as I go. I could take my drawing and put it in the printer and transfer it, print it right on the watercolor paper. But I want to have the opportunity to redraw this little boy, this little illustration. And so I do it when I transfer the original drawing onto the watercolor paper. I do it also as I do this line work with my pencil. So I have changed from the indigo pencil to this amazing Blackwing pencil. And that'll give me a little more lighter detail, like with the print on the pajamas. And so I remember I got a chance to listen to Jerry Pinkney when he came to BYU, and he signed a book for me, and I just wanted to ask him what kind of pencil he used when he was doing his illustrations. And I was surprised that some of the pencil was just a graphite pencil. So that was interesting to learn, and I've admired his work for a long time. So doing this hair, same thing. I'm getting the detail in the hair. I've got a dark watercolor in there, but this indigo pencil will add a little more texture to it. So I have to be free, and then I'm looking at the book dummy and the illustration and just seeing, oh, I'll just add a little more. And then this little guy is done. So this is the detail with the pencil, and just trying to make that line interesting. As it goes around this horse. Well, it's not a horse, but so the illustration is becoming more familiar to me, so I can do these more quickly, but I have to be careful that that I'm not too quick with them, and that I become too carefree. I want these pencil strokes to be free, but I want to make sure that in my freedom, I don't want to make a mistake with the drawing. But this is just fun to get a little free with that pencil stroke. So I'm just finishing up these illustrations. I'm trying to get the color down, and it's quite satisfying to just figure out where I'm going to put the color and get it down on paper. I've got the Mongolian horses down. I've got the background color and the texture down. And so just kind of going through and finishing the family on the chair, and getting that all done, kind of step at a time. So I've given myself a deadline, and so I'm trying to really concentrate on getting the illustrations done, combined with some family trips and getting together with old friends, going to lunch, and so all of these things are combining, and I still have to work around the deadline of finishing the illustrations. So every minute that I get, I'm spending the time that I need to on these illustrations, and I'm going to see if I can get them done in time to get them to the book designer, and see if we can get this project to some finished form. So you may wonder what age group this picture book would be for. I would say, I enjoyed picture books when I was an adult, so it's kind of hard for me to tell ages and who would enjoy this book. But I know one thing, that 5-year-old at the first of the video, it's not for him.